You fanatics always cease to surprise us. You poor sods, believing in something that would save us, to rise from the clutching hands of the deep below. Our world is doomed to drown, either by the Lord Regent's rot or the depths itself. You can't change fate. Best if you take it in the air than exhausting yourself chasing a fictional prophecy.
We'll see about that. Deepwoken D&D, or Project Deepwoken, is a story pioneered by me, using Deepwoken we all know, love, and hate as a foundation to help build the story of Deepwoken D&D. This introductory video of it would help give context to the lore topics about it in the future, given the vast amount of lore the project provides. There are currently, as of now, 3 chapters of Deepwoken D&D. The Death Divers, Words of the Void, and Modern Deepwoken, all of which have their own lore and a connection between all 3 of each other. In this video, we'll be talking about the story of Felix Calico of the Words of the Void, who was chosen as a Void Warrior to save his world and countless others from drowning. In the later part of the video, we'll be talking about that party in the actual D&D campaign, the Words of the Void. Felix Calico is a felon adventurer who hailed from nowhere, who was a freshblood in the kingdom of Etria. During his first handful of mediocre quests, he encountered Kenneth, an Etrian guard and whom assisted the feline with tips and tricks, even though they were complete strangers. Eventually, the two became bonded with each other, effectively being friends who help one another. As time goes by, his fame and reputation stand out amongst all the Etrian adventurers by his miraculous performance and speed in completing quests one after another. Eventually, he was taken an interest by the Lord Regent himself and given a personal invitation into the palace. Knowing in the actual Deepwoken involving the Lord Regent, Felix was given the key to Duke Aricia's manor, and so he performed the task of neutralizing Duke Aricia for the Forge of Sin. But just like how the real Deepwoken quest would have ended, he was unable to carry the large object back to Etria, and reported the bad news. Instead of being executed by the Lord Regent, he hesitated, Felix taking notice and raising a brow, but not questioning the act. The Lord Regent sent Felix Calico away, and Kenneth feeling unease of the news between Felix and the Lord Regent's well-being. Kenneth, who has been given the truth of the Lord Regent's health from Felix, ventured into an investigation alone, disregarding Felix Calico's words of advice to not investigate any further. As the days goes by after Kenneth's chase to find answers, all of Etris are in cahoots of the Lord Regent's well-being, eventually turning what seems to be protests and concerns into a riot. As the riot begins, breaching the defenses that would have protected the palace, so did the Penumbra disaster, a catastrophic event that will forever change the Etrian Luminant and the Deep entirely. All of Etris' inhabitants, all of society that lived there were killed by this Penumbra disaster, including Felix Calico. But until 40 years later, Felix Calico has risen from the ashes and rubble of now elevated islands of Etria from the second Void Shower, and ventured forward as a Void Warrior. How Felix gained the title and abilities of a Void Warrior was bestowed by a figure of an endless white plane, unheard of in the history of Deepwoken. This entity tasked Felix to kill the Lord Regent, but to do so, he must gather his full potential and strength as he slowly progresses his newfound ability. The many boons a Warrior of the Void has is a steep training curve and short time to master a weapon or attunement, requiring little to no training from mentors whatsoever. Other than mastery, a Void Warrior is able to switch between classes, a way to distribute skill sets to others, effectively becoming a jack of all trades. And so marks the very first steps Felix Calico has in the role of Void Warrior, making a name for himself and proving those that have prophecy and visions of him were false, wrong. He made friends along the way, lost them from conflict, but he gathered enough and resolve to venture forward, as he is the only shining hope of this world, burning ever so brightly than a light keeper. From start to finish, from the penumbral disaster to the voidless sea, Felix became stronger as he clashed against new challenges and powerful foes, such as the Penumbral Duke, a being in possession of Duke Arisia's corpse, the Lord Regent and his penumbral monsters, the Central Authority armed with advanced attunements, technology, and taboo art stolen by others, a celestial city in the outskirts of the Black Sea, occupied by the weak and poor Lightborn, and the wealthy and aristocratic Celestials, who are under the protection by monsters of Voidlight, and a Lightkeeper of another world, corrupted and transformed of the very source, the Void Singer. Felix Calico is the unwanted hero of Deepwoken, ridding his world and many others of the deep, cleansing all worlds back to normal. A Deepwoken without the deaths, the deep no longer calls as the endless sea ceases to exist. The Warriors of the Void, in which case the Dungeons and Dragons party, follows the story of which Felix Calico has tread upon in their own way, carving over a new road depending on their choices and behavior. Unfortunately, this particular group was hand-picked Deepwoken players, which may have led to mixed relations with outsiders of the group. In spite of all that, these Warriors of the Void were chosen by the same figure Felix Calico has met, granting them power of the Void Warrior and sending them out to the now tarnished Etrian Luminant ruined by penumbral rot. These characters of this campaign are canon by their own part of the book, while there are many different parties of players out there who follow along Felix Calico's storyline in their own pace. Other than player-controlled characters, there are Void Warriors that were tasked much differently than simply killing the Lord Regent and whatever stands in their way. These particular warriors were tasked by the figure himself to defeat Celeste Lightborn, who she was kidnapped by Lightseekers and sent into a spiral of isolation and insanity caused by them. There were 24 warriors of the Void from other Deepwoken worlds that were affected by Voidlight, 5 warriors counting in Celeste's world, in which they were all sent together into Celeste's world and launched a unified assault against her and the Voidless Sea. Unfortunately, however, 23 Void Warriors' desperate assault against the Void Singer overwhelmed them from fatigue and the endless wave of void monsters coming from the Voidless Sea, eventually becoming defeated and transformed as part of Celeste's collection. One Void Warrior, in particular, by the name of Felix Calico, was sent away by a Lightkeeper in that world. He was the only remaining survivor before the world has been purified into the Voidless world. Andreas will play a vital part to Felix Calico's story, as he will be his guidance during his time in the Voidless world. But as of now, in the present, only one Void Warrior remains as Andreas finishes his part, and that being Felix himself. In due time, when the Warriors of the Void from Deepwoken D&D finally reaches to the present and travels to the original Deepwoken, Felix will be waiting, bathed in the blood of monsters, disguised in human skin. Us.